Trelise, there's so many questions I want to ask you, but which I won't get to ask, but perhaps when we close, people can ask the questions that they have. But I just want to thank you so much for your generous time today. It's lovely interviewing you again, and just hearing your insights into quite a long career, really, in fashion.
I guess so, yeah, it has been. It doesn't feel like it. Every day is a new day, it's all different and it changes. I think that's why I love it.
And you're still packing so much into your everyday, and you're going off for a month, so thank you so much for being able to come in and being travelling. I know that your staff, you were so busy last week with everyone trying to fit in appointments before you left, so thank you so much for fitting us in.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I just got back from Delhi because I manufacture there, and I just got back from there, and then off again to I'm going to a textile fair in Lake Como in Milan, so
one of your favourite places.
One of my favourite places. And then off to our house in France, and the thing I love about that is it's an inspiration place where I buy things in the little antique fairs and brocante markets, and that provide the inspiration for a print or a,
I know. Actually, I just wonder if I could quickly show six slides just before about that, because I think that's a really lovely thing, because I wanted to talk about your love of vintage, and here we have, in fact, kindly in that busy week, compiled for me by your PA. And
she's long suffering, but she's still there, so she must like something.
So here we have two beautiful textiles which were found by you. Yes. Maybe I'll show the slides while you talk through it.
Yeah,
oh, they're not showing. Here we go.
So these
we'll close with these.
I guess this is the journey of how I come up with a print. And sometimes the inspiration comes from the print first, or it might come from the fabric, or it might be that I find a garment in a vintage store. But this was a print that began the inspiration for a collection, actually, and it was called French Militaire. I was in this little village in France, and I found this chap that dealt in military memorabilia, and he had two scarves, and these scarves were worn by the soldiers before they could read and write, so they had lots of pictures on them and lots of instructions on how the battle was to be fought. And so I bought these two. I'm going to actually have them framed and put in the house in France, but I bought them because I loved the colours and the vintage feel of them, and they inspired me immediately. And so my son, who speaks great French, did lots of bartering to get them for me, and I put them together in one, because there's a lot of military in there. There's cannons and guns and soldiers and things, and it's not actually who I feel I am. So I took them back to work, and we worked on them, and we photocopied and cut pieces of paper, and we pieced it all together so that we could get this truly unique flavour of this military print. So you can see there's little bits of writing, there's all sorts on here that come from the two scarves. So we melded the two scarves together and sent it off to get printed, and then had it come back. And there's some stains on there, and usually if you know me, I like a tea stain because it makes something have character in that, but this time I actually didn't want the stains because they looked like you'd had a bad accident. But anyway, the sampling came through, and that was too late, as it is.
We can see one up there.
Yes, it's bad staining's gone on. You've dripped your tea or something worse. And anyway, the stain stayed in because when I showed it to my retailers, they liked the authenticity of it. But I guess that's it started with this tiny little idea in a small village in France, and then it's gets made into a dress and a skirt.
And we didn't even touch on vintage, one of my favourite topics. But that's a really good little snapshot of the inspiration.
Yeah. Or the inspiration might be that I go to. Let's quickly touch on it. I might go to a vintage store and see a technique or a thing that I've never seen before, and I will buy that garment and somehow weave that magic into something. So if you buy my clothes, a lot of the time what you're buying is something to do with history that I haven't seen before, or that reminds me of how beautifully clothes were crafted by women who hand sewed them or had them sewn by.
And I think this is some of the attraction you were talking about, that why people admire, because people always love historic fashion exhibitions as well. And
yes.
I think that
well, it
there's little
back
details
to an era,
yes, absolutely.
that we no longer have. Yes,
yeah.
and you know, I've learnt a lot from looking at vintage garments and the way in which you cut. Like, they always cut the waist seams at the back always really narrow, whereas if I send it out for a grade or something, it'll always come back, the waist seams have become this big, and you know, on a woman's body at the back, that's a very unattractive thing. So I always go, now bring the waist seam back in and put the grade out into the sides, because I'm following that idea that's vintage, that is those beautiful sort of corseted looks. And I think it's those details, that sort of subtle thing that makes a difference in cut.
It's like being able to buy a piece of history but a contemporary.
Yeah, with a relevant spin for today, yes. Yeah.
Well, look, thank you so much, and thank you for your patience in adding that little extra little tidbit, which I think is it's a favourite of mine, of your work. And please join me in thanking Trelise, and then we'll have some questions.
Thank you. Is anyone brave enough?
First question, and there will be a microphone that will be brought to you. So anyone put their hand up?
I can just do that.
Yes. It began with, I guess, each step's a brave step. I didn't know, never done it before, and I think I just did it. And I really believe if that's how you should do anything, is just get on and do it, because you can procrastinate around it. So what I decided is that I needed to understand how someone, if I was coming in to look at a collection, how would I want to see it? And everybody said, well, New Zealand designers show from this place. And anyway, I booked a hotel there and went, oh, it's so cruddy, so terrible, and I don't want this to be the first impression of my buyers. And so I went to the penthouse, and as my husband said, top shelf always, but I went top shelf because I wanted people to give me credibility and to take me seriously. I mean, I didn't have a lot of money. I don't mean that. I didn't have money back then to do it, but I'm really happy that I did that, because immediately I got, like, my Brisbane account, who I still have, like those accounts, I still have them. She spent $90,000 with me that day, but I honestly believe that I researched who I would invite, and I honestly believe that the fact that I went top shelf, and it immediately gave me credibility as a person they'd never heard of. Not only that, I think they had to believe they could sell the collection, but I just went and set myself up in the hotel and invited people to come and look at the collection, and it was as easy as that, actually. To know that that's easy, but the hard stuff comes after you get the order, actually.
Delivering.
Yeah.